It was me, Perry.
With James Gunn's new DC universe supposedly having a connected world between games, movies, and shows, I thought a Flash game would be starting production soon since so many people want one. It seems like a no-brainer, but that garbage movie ruined our chances of getting one anytime soon. So how do we make a good Flash game? How do we save his reputation? From this point on, whenever I refer to this dream Flash game I'm imagining, I'm just going to call it my game to make it easy on myself, since I don't have a title or anything. Something I want to focus on is how fun super speed can be. You can do things like jump further and longer, which gives you more time in the air to be acrobatic or do tricks. As the Flash, you can run on walls because you have this magical speed force that negates gravity. It's stuff like this that people I talk to don't really think of when it comes to super speed. I always have to bring up how it should feel as fun as an Insomniac game, whether it be Sunset Overdrive or Spider-Man with the trick system and being rewarded by going faster when you perfect the movement. On the way to get what a perfect Flash game would be, I need to talk about some examples of what we already have for super speed, then analyze what we should take and leave behind. I love the Sonic games despite the critiques I'll have for them. You see, the whole point of the game is to go as fast as possible, but if that's all that's going on, it's gonna get boring. That's why there's obstacles. It makes it hard to maneuver and you really have to get good at the games. But what pisses me off about the 2D ones is you can't fucking see anything in front of you. And you know, that was the whole point originally. You were supposed to die, keep trying, and memorize the level. Then you could actually play as intended and get to such fast speeds. So I can see how it works, but for someone like me that doesn't have that kind of memory, it just feels like work instead of release, which is what speed is all about. Now, Sonic's switch to 3D is a little more complicated, and I'll be breaking it up between the adventure games and Unleashed. Besides the fact that Sonic is awkward to control when you walk slowly because he just wants to jump into super speed immediately, what pisses me off about Sonic Adventure 1 is the level design simply exists to slow you down. They fixed the problem of the 2D games because you could see everything in front of you, but they also introduced new ones that directly contradict the need for speed. Like, you can build up good momentum, and then you just fucking get to this? Just some icicles that you have to jump between and are hard to maneuver because it completely changes the way that you've been using the joysticks, and that just confuses me. I don't know. Then there's those sections where Sonic bounces around like a pinball, building up speed only to end up on a ladder or monkey bars, where all your speed that you've built up has just come to a halt. It wouldn't feel so annoying if I wasn't going so quick before and I built up that speed myself. Instead of erasing these sections though, you could just be moving through them with the momentum that you previously acquired. I truly do not understand why in a game about building up speed, you would just put this hard stop. But then there's things that slow me down that feels like it's really my fault, and it's not irritating but engaging because I can actually learn it. Like, you basically run through MC Escher's relativity in these crazy cool angles, and I'm only slower because I never expected this. But then, attacking the enemies feels inconsistent. I'm going so fast, I should be able to obliterate these monkeys. But it's like a 50-50 shot of whether it actually happens or not. Since it's so inconsistent, I end up just avoiding them, and completely not engaging in any kind of combat, unless you have to for boss fights. But then there's this one level that basically does away with all these obtuse obstacles and feels so freeing. It's all the best parts of this game injected into one level, which reminds me why I enjoy these games and why super speed is so fucking cool. There's not much to obstruct you. Even the obstacles that make you stop move pretty quickly, and then they slingshot you out and just keep you going. You get to run on walls, which is awesome. This map really just feels like it's part of a city. And the cherry on top of it all is cops chase you because you're going over the speed limit. It's such a fun bit of environmental storytelling. I don't know, I just love it. This map feels like it inspired every level in Sonic Adventure 2, which brings up its own positives and negatives. You blast through these levels at an exhilarating pace, with the addition of grinding on rails that just adds to the cool factor, as well as feeling good when you actually land on one, because I often miss them. The moments where you have to slow down or change your path feel very appropriate, like when the path you're on splits in two and you have to get on the one that isn't falling. I haven't gotten bored playing it, but I could see how it would get boring for someone else because there are so few obstacles, and I feel like they know that because sometimes they'll just throw something in front of you at the most random time. This ends up feeling like a troll rather than an actual obstacle. Sonic is also a lot easier to control because it takes longer for speed to build up, so you can give him more direction before you really get into the groove. It feels like you naturally swap between walking and running, opposed to Adventure 1 where it's kind of a mess if you're trying to do something very specific. When you're in a level, the momentum you build up kind of keeps you locked in place, so your character feels like it's been put on a track. Don't kill me for this comparison, but I guess it's similar to like Subway Surfers. But I feel way more natural than Subway Surfers because it's just an example of what I'm thinking of. You could still move side to side, it just takes a little more. In the first level of the game, you're going so fast you blast through cars, which are basically the only obstacles in the level. This is exactly how it should be when you're moving at such speeds. But the issue is, you're playing as a hero. You shouldn't be destroying other people's property that they work for and have to slowly pay off over years due to it being tens of thousands of dollars. There's a similarly exciting issue in Sonic Unleashed where you blast through these chairs or enemies because you're moving so fast. Finally, I can just obliterate the enemies by running through them, but I also probably just destroyed some small businesses' chairs and tables that cost them a ton when they're already struggling to stay afloat with bigger corporations sucking up all the available place to sell. I'm going to have to put a pin in this point about destroying other people's property. Alliteration. But we will get back to it. The top speed in Unleashed is probably the fastest you can intentionally move in any game. The boost feels so good when you use it because the accelerated speed is what makes the game challenging. You want to maintain your pace, but it's so hard when the world is whizzing by you to a point you can barely see it. The speed in this game is the challenge. It forces you to make these split-second decisions or just be lame and smack into a wall. Knowing turns with the increased velocity would be tough. Sega added this little slide move where Sonic places his hand on the ground so you drift around corners without having to truly slow down. The game that I have in mind needs this for all the same reasons that Unleashed has it. But in my game, I'd also like to use it as an attack, where when you come out of super speed, you can slide and knock someone over, just like Metal Gear Rising. Sonic games often have this section between the race courses where you slow down for a bit and do something else. For Unleashed, it is a bit of a slog, but it is honestly so worth it. But what if you had a game where you never slow down? Haste is a game that is not out yet, but I've been following for a long time. The free demo recently released, showing me it's everything I've wanted. It's not the fastest game, but that works in its favor. It's the kind of super speed that you would want in real life, where things aren't moving so fast that everything around you is in slow motion. You know, because seeing that all the time would be really boring. It wouldn't feel like you're moving fast when we're just like taking a normal walk while everything around you is like stagnant. It's the kind of super speed where you're running as fast as a car could go, and you're still like feeling the velocity and the wind through your hair and all that. And it still feels incredibly fast, even if it may not be as fast as like Sonic Unleashed. Anyway, everything about Haste encourages you to increase your pace. You literally have to outrun the end of the world before it takes you with it. To increase your speed, you have to jump off the top of hills, then you have to land on the slope so the momentum carries with you into the next jump. This single mechanic adds so much because you have to always think about your movement or else. My game would need this kind of movement system. Any slant in a road becomes a way to boost your speed. When running on walls, running up them would be slower since you're fighting against gravity, while when running down, you'd be moving with gravity. So every angle you jump onto a building would matter. Haste also has a power-up where for a short while you can slow down time, which helps you position or dodge. It's so cool to dodge missiles in slow motion. You know, it feels like the Matrix, or just like the Flash. The speed is at a point where you can still understand what's going on, but this upgrade just gives you so much more control. I really love it. Something like this needs to be a permanent ability in my game from the start, especially with how quick you're going to be able to go. There's kind of a trick system, but not really. When you hold the button to dive, normally you dive. But if you just tap it, you do a little flip at the price of losing a bit of momentum. I don't think this part was really intentional though. There is so much stuff in the environment that you can accidentally hit, and avoiding it is the whole game. But getting a near miss builds this meter that gives you a little boost on your hoverboard. While this is almost the exact kind of super speed I've been wanting, the end goal of the video is to come up with a game about the fastest man alive. He needs to be much faster than 120 miles per hour, and would likely be in an open world cityscape. There are games like this out right now, and I'm sure some of you may be thinking Infamous or Saints Row, but these games, super speed just feels a little awkward. Infamous just makes your character disappear when running, because the animation for running this quick is pretty hard to make look natural. Proof of this is with Saints Row, where the running animation looks like you just hit 2 times speed on a YouTube video. The fastest character in LEGO games is not the Flash, but Quicksilver. He can basically generate a clone to help him fight. It's supposed to be like he moves so fast that he left an afterimage behind. I want something similar to this in my game too, but I'd think of it more like devilmaycry. An afterimage that would stick around for a short period of time and mirror what you do to help you combo, cause spoiler alert, this combat system will be very inspired by devilmaycry. I bring up these games mostly for the fact that they're open world, which is the kind of game I would want for the Flash, but the world needs to be thought out, which many open world games are not these days. Something else I want to take from these games is little moves like this where you don't always fight the enemy, but just mess with them and disorient them. Maybe you can disarm them, pick them up, and then just leave them somewhere far away from their gang. That's the kind of thing that the Flash just does sometimes, and it's such a fun use of super speed. Plus it helps thin the crowd and lets you fight better. This game has a few separate speeds you move at, which are all well and good, but then the glitch comes into play. Swapping between custom characters keeps multiplying your pace to the point where you can literally run on air. Getting to that point will crash the game though. This is probably the fastest you can move in a game, but it just isn't as fun when it's not built for it, and you just bounce around like a pinball having no idea what's going on, so I usually stop at a speed far before this that other games can match. Games like Undefeated, which feel almost as quick as that pace, but with more control because you're heavier. But I do find myself accidentally hitting things sometimes. You move around so fast that you can save people on one side of the map, then what feels like just a few seconds, you can be on the other side of the map saving someone else. This is exactly what a Flash game should be like. He can be everywhere, literally do everything to improve the community, but still be late for a date. Because of the rate you're moving at, you get this large jump boost that flings you really far. It just feels really nice. Adding some little flips in there would just make it all the more fun. Something I'd want to take from this game and tweak are the 3 paces that you move at. So in my game, the first one is walking, not much to say here. The second is a medium speed that increases as you keep running, so you build momentum. As you increase your speed throughout the game, this one will only slightly increase. As a means to prevent players with slower reaction times from being overwhelmed, this will also be a good state for inside stages like a boss fight I have planned out, or combat sections. And the third speed is so fast it should be a sin against God. This isn't a speed that you have in the beginning, it's something that you unlock as you progress. It would start out being much faster than the medium speed, but any upgrades you got apply to this one even more. Mostly turning or moving from side to side would be a challenge. The drifting mechanic and slowing down time a little would help a lot for control, but at this speed, the environment becomes an obstacle, so I have to do something to fix that, which we'll go into later. Now, Undefeated presents something that is incredibly fun, but also becomes an issue. You just obliterate enemies, either by dashing through them faster than they can comprehend, or with the sheer force generated around a person moving at Mach speed. I want something like this to be in the game, but just doing that all the time would get tiring because there's no challenge. My plot to the game is how he fixed that. Eobard Thawne is a scientist from the future that created technology that could give him speed like the Flash. So why couldn't he create something that kinda slows things down too? What I'm thinking exactly is Thawne would be distributing some kind of tech that could be used like a vest, or some kind of compact contraption you wear, that way it's automatic. You don't have to think about it because the Flash is going to be thinking and moving way faster than you. So the way it actually works is kinda like Nero's ragtime devil breaker from Devil May Cry, that mostly just slows the immediate area around you while you would be unaffected. Many gangs and even the rogues could have access to this. So when the Flash gets close, he becomes slow enough to actually hit. I'd still want the player to be moving fast, but now it's like you're actually visible to the enemies instead of just a blur. Though not all of the rogues really need something like this, Weather Wizard and the Trickster often use some kind of disturbance far away from their location, so Flash has to take care of that and then go track them down. While Mirror Master can create all these illusions, jump between mirror dimensions, or even trap Flash in a mirror. So for these characters, you don't need to give them any of Eobard Thawne's technology. We'll just get into how gameplay interacting with them will work later. It's time to talk about which Flash this will be. There's no question about it, it's gotta be
Wally West.
For most comic readers or people growing up with the Flash in the early 90s or 2000s, he is the Flash, not Barry. Using Mark Waid's run as a basis for the story would put the mainstream in a really good position to learn about Wally because he's new to being the Flash after Barry dies. He could do almost everything Barry could, except for one thing: phase through walls. The anxiety and worry he feels about this start to weigh on him, because he can't outrun Barry's shadow. To characterize his worry, you can draw parallels between his speed and how fast his thoughts pile up. Maybe a theme of the story is how he needs to slow down and think. With all the anxiety and doubt he'll be experiencing, you can dig into how much he just doesn't want to acknowledge it. He wants to run from his problems forever, but that's not sustainable, and eventually we'll get to a breaking point. His girlfriend Linda Park can be a reason of why he changes. She'll be this voice of reason that pries into his thoughts and feelings, challenging him in a way he hasn't been before. But the real catalyst for his change will be the villains. Almost all of the rogues have some potential for redemption. They almost always refuse to kill anyone or harm innocents. They're just smart thieves with crazy tech. There are far worse people that could have the tech that they do. Wally could look down on them at first, then notice something endearing or honorable about them, like if Snart saves a child that he accidentally put in danger in the first place. Pied Piper would be the first to turn. The only reason he'd be with the rogues in the first place is because of the times they steal from people who actually deserve it, like the rich. But he could be upset that the money they get, they only use on themselves instead of people who really need it more. And he can have doubts in them because their way of doing things can put other people in danger. He would be the first to be rehabilitated in the rogues, even going to Wally personally to tell him where they're gonna hit next. They'd have to talk about why Piper is coming to Wally in the first place, and after Wally is filled in on Piper's whole deal, he could be open to working with him, but just not fully trusting him. When they go together to stop the rogues, Piper and Wally can talk to them, put some doubt in their mind about some of the things that they're doing, but they'd probably need a few more meetings before really changing for the better. After working together against the rogues, that would show Wally that Piper really means what he says, and they would become good friends. Also, give Piper a boyfriend, because it'd be fun. Just do it, come on. Their potential to be rehabilitated will stare Wally in the face as this undeniable truth that will make him have to reconsider everything he's doing. When one of his enemies are apprehended, I want the scenes to go something like this.
James, you're off your meds, aren't you?
I'm better off without him. Take him if I start feeling down.
You know that's not how the medicine works. You're not well.
I'm fine. You want to throw some darts?
No, listen, James, you're wearing the suit again.
I am? Well, what do you know?
I promised to come see you in the hospital. We'll play darts, the soft kind. As soon as you finish your drink, turn yourself in.
Got me again, Flash.
There needs to be less reliance on police or punishing these people. They need to go through rehabilitation programs, learn that the way they've used their gifts is wrong, because even though they don't want to hurt people, these powerful weapons are used recklessly. Though I do want some of the rogues to be truly irredeemable. I'd choose Weather Wizard and Captain Boomerang to be the real killers of the group. Boomerang is an assassin, he does just enjoy killing. And with Weather Wizard, I like the idea that even though he controls it, weather can still be unpredictable. If he creates a thunderstorm with rain, heavy winds, lightning, he just lets the wind and lightning run free and build where lightning starts fires, the wind helps spread the fire through the city, or the storm gets so intense it becomes a tornado, picking up people in their cars and throwing them around. These two members putting people in danger can lead to conflict with the rest of the rogues to the point where they actually get kicked out. Eventually, their behavior should lead to their own destruction. Petty things like who scored more in the last heist can drive them apart, and Weather Wizard could end up killing Boomerang during a storm. Or maybe he breaks the piece of technology that he's using to create the storm, and it starts to get out of control, killing himself in the process. Wally, and maybe even the rest of the rogues, could be racked with regret, wishing they had some way to save them. The placement of the story being early in Wally's career also makes it so he doesn't have everything figured out. He doesn't know everything about the Speed Force or how it works, and since this is a game, you can start to unlock more abilities as you progress. Before I talk about combat with the villains, I want to go over some of the controls and combos that would be possible. When I think of superhero games, I often think of this similar kind of free-flow combat, but I want to avoid that for this because it's starting to feel a little overplayed. I want it to be like Devil May Cry because the combat system is extremely expressive, which just fits Wally's personality well, but I also feel like as a speedster, you should be able to do a lot of crazy stuff in just a short amount of time. I'll pull up the controller display and some abilities, so y'all can pause to read. Something you could do, for example, is lift a guy into the air with flurry punches, zip towards him, knocking him away, pull him back in with a whirlwind, perform a combination of lightning-charged punches and kicks, knock him down and send a bolt of lightning with him that spreads through the enemies, then finally come down spinning like a top and knocking everyone on their ass. Unlocking abilities through the story with side challenges in the open world would be a good way to go about it. Doing races throughout the city can improve your speed. The races can be based around getting life-saving medicine to a hospital, which you only have to do because there's been a horrible accident and people that would normally do this are stuck in traffic. With the roads blocked off, you gotta find an alternate way there. It gives the game an excuse to make you run on buildings and give these races some flair, because you'd have to run over the streets instead of on them. Or have a race where Trickster places a bomb somewhere in the city, and you only get a few hints of where it is, so you really have to cover every corner of a certain block in a city. But at the end of the challenge, Trickster would reveal it's a fake bomb just planted to distract you, and now you're on another timer to get to the bank that he robbed before he escapes. To learn how to make whirlwinds with your body, it'd be cool if Weather Wizard placed hazardous tornadoes around the city. That way you have to run counterclockwise to disperse it. They'd be randomly occurring, so if it starts happening, you have to fix it then and there. Having the tornadoes be different kinds could mix it up a bit, like having some spawn in the river and become a hurricane. So now if you stop running for even a second, you just fall into the water and there's more potential of being pulled in. So I have a pretty radical boss idea where Captain Cold and Heatwave would fight you at the same time. But I imagine this fight would echo bullet hell games like Gungeon or Star of Providence. They could each be at a different end of the screen, firing a variety of different blasts or beams at you, and you have to dodge them all or find a gap while getting close enough to hit them. It might be a little funky because it would switch to that top-down perspective, because I'm thinking of putting the player in a place where these villains would actually be a challenge. Because you know, if you're actually the Flash, you can just deal with it in 2 seconds. But I feel like this gives some kind of realistic reason why he couldn't do that. I think if they had a weakness, it would be each other, so maybe you can trick one into shooting the other. This fight would basically force you to use the walking pace, since there is so much coming at you all the time and you're just in this one little room. The move that normally makes you drift in super speed could now make you do a little roll to avoid some of the damage and get a better position. No matter what speed you're using, the ability to slow things down should be maintained, specifically for something like this. If you're good, maybe you can use the medium speed and slide under the bullets, but I don't know, I think that'd be really hard. Beating this would give you the ability to throw lightning bolts that could chain and electrocute others in close proximity. Now, I don't have any real set ideas for how this boss fight with Gorilla Grodd would go, but I want him and his legion of gorillas in the game because humanity's obsession with monkeys. Monkeys just have a long history in comics. I'm not really sure why, besides the fact that people just like them. The gorillas as enemies would be much heavier and stronger than normal enemies. I don't want them to just be damage sponges, so if you knock them into the air, they'd fall faster, stuff like that. That would make them feel heavier and different from other enemies. Grodd often works with packs of gorillas, so there'd be a lot there, and it's inevitable that one of them is going to hit you. When that happens, they should send you flying. No other enemy would really do this, so I think it'd really add to the uniqueness of them. And Grodd would try to mind control the Flash, which is a unique way to prevent the Flash from just completely mopping the floor with everybody there. So maybe you have to fight a twisted version of yourself in this mindscape. Then when you defeat him, you can escape Grodd's control. Doing that over and over again would get pretty tedious though, so I don't know, maybe just mash a button to escape. It's kind of lame though. I like this next boss fight so much I made it happen 3 times. What I mean is at different parts of the game, based on how your abilities have progressed, the Reverse Flash would show up to fight. Having it be based on your abilities could make it a surprise, so if the next story point is urgent, he'd be distracting you from it. For the first fight, he'd simply be better than you. He'd be faster and can phase through objects, so this could be one of those fights where you actually lose unless you can somehow outsmart him. But as you gain more abilities, and as you get faster, he'll come back to test you again, but he will have gained his own new abilities. Like if you can throw lightning, he'll be able to redirect it. The third time will have a similar pattern, but now you'll be better than him, so the final victory scares him away forever. If you can't tell, this inspiration is also from Devil May Cry. In the third game, as Dante improves, so does Virgil. Every time you get a new ability, he does too. Every time you just barely beat a really hard boss, he demolishes it. And that feeling I've gotten from no other game, it feels like such a good idea for the Reverse Flash specifically, because Eobard just keeps coming back. Since these fights activate based on your upgrades, you'd be mostly or fully upgraded at this point, so I'm not really sure what to give you, besides the feeling of accomplishment, but maybe that's all you need. Eobard has been terrorizing you all this time, and he just fucking hates you so much. Getting such a massive hater off your back, I mean, that's gotta be some sort of relief. And now for the section of the video that I've been holding back all this time. When it comes to certain abilities, I want it to be tied to Wally mentally. In Mark Waid's run, there's this moment where Wally is trapped in this force field that's closing in on him. He knows Barry could have phased out of it. He keeps vibrating his hands against it, trying as hard as he can to phase through, but nothing. Just nothing is working. The pressure of the situation builds. The fact that he might be crushed to death and was never good enough for the city, himself, or his mentor, that just eats away at him in his final desperate moments. But as a last resort, he lets the worries fade away so he can truly believe in himself. He's not coming back, and I'm not coming out alive. Shut up. Clear your head. Forget Barry. Forget the fear. Forget everything. But don't lose the vibration. Stay with it. Stop now and you're gone, if you're lucky. push everything. After learning to phase, I'd want the player to get a big speed boost. At some point your speed will be so fast that some people might have a problem controlling it, but with that and the new phase ability, buildings and cars now become obstacles. When you're running and you're about to smack into something, you'll be able to slow down time, so you can press a designated phase button so you don't destroy someone else's property. Something like this fixes a lot of my issues with the previous games, and I think makes traversal a little more interesting. Along with having a trick system that works almost exactly like Spider-Man, I think this really remedies things getting boring. Wally is an acrobat, and doing little flips in the air could build up a meter that gives him a boost for more air control. Like if you jump too far off a side of a building, you can zip back towards the building. This would be really useful for some of the races in the game, because some of them would be very specific and have rings to go through. You know how races are in video games. There's a lot more I could expand on or go into. I have a whole list of scrapped ideas. But I've been working on this video for a month now, and I am tired. So subscribe, turn on notifications, like the video, whatever. I don't post a lot, so the notifications will remind you. Thank you so much for watching.